Welcome to the Authentic Change Podcast. I'm Mike Horn, your host, and this podcast is for leaders and coaches who need and want fresh perspectives on what it means to live and to lead authentically. You're a leader who wants to make a difference, but sometimes you feel stuck. You know there's more to life and to leadership than what you're currently experiencing. It can be tough to figure out how to grow as a leader. You might be reading all the blogs and books, but it still feels like you're not making progress. You might even be feeling like you're doing everything wrong. On Authentic Change with Mike Horn, we interview experts who share their insights on how to live and lead authentically. Our guests are trendsetters in building great leaders, teams, and organizations. We provide fresh perspectives on what it means to live with purpose and authenticity. Welcome to this episode of the Authentic Change Podcast.
Welcome to this episode of Authentic Change with Mike Horn. I am absolutely delighted to have in the virtual studio today, Zach White. And it's going to be a treat to talk with Zach, to be in conversation with him, because he is changing the game in career coaching for engineering leaders. And you know, as many of you in the audience know, I work with scientists and distinguished engineers and their teams. So for me, this is going to be a wonderful exercise to be in conversation with Zach White, because he's really worked with hundreds of leaders at all levels, from the top of technology companies worldwide, including Facebook, Meta, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google, to industry leaders like General Motors, Nike, Lockheed Martin, Whirlpool, and many more to achieve breakthrough results and escape burnout. But let me just tell you a little bit about the business side of Zach as well. He's the founder and CEO of Oasis of Courage, known as OACO, a fast-growing company with unique, proven coaching programs exclusively for engineers. And we'll talk a little bit about his podcast later, the Happy Engineer Podcast. But he is just that. He is a preeminent coach for engineering leaders. So Zach, with all of that said, let me just say welcome. I'm so glad you're here. And could you say a few words about yourself that go beyond these accomplishments that you've garnered?
Mike, thank you so much. And what else could I say? What is a beautiful and lengthy bio? I need to shorten that up a little bit. But maybe what I'll say, Mike, is beyond Zach the coach, beyond Zach the CEO, just so people can know I'm a person too. I love to ride horses with my spouse. I love to go to the beach. We live here in Southwest Michigan, a little town right along the shores of Lake Michigan, which is absolutely the best place you could possibly be in the summer, and might be one of the worst places you can be in the winter. So we're looking forward to spring and summer coming around here this year. But
I live in one of those places as well, Zach. I live in Southern California, out in the desert, in Palm Desert, and most of the year it's pretty beautiful, except for a few months around July and August where it's excessively hot. So
yeah, you got the opposite problem I've got.
Right.
So no, Mike, it's an absolute joy to help these engineering leaders to create the career of their dreams, to reach the goals and the vision they have for the impact they want to make in engineering and technology and in leadership, but also to nest that into the context of a life that they dream about, and stop compromising between the two and feeling like this is an either or equation, to really get to a place of balance and avoiding the burnout that's so common with these leaders that are under a lot of pressure to deliver. And especially right now, as we record this, engineering and technology has taken a big blow in terms of layoffs and challenges for a lot of people. So doing awesome work, love the opportunity to do it, and excited to talk about authenticity here with you. And it goes beyond just engineers. This conversation, while it's my zone of genius, is engineering and technology. I think these principles apply no matter where you work.
So great. Justin, what attracted you to working with engineers, or what was the connection there?
Yeah, well, I am an engineer. I started my career in mechanical engineering. I went to Purdue and went into Whirlpool Corporation in a leadership development program, their top talent intake program, and was really honored to be selected for that. They paid for my master's degree in mechanical engineering at the University of Michigan. So once an engineer, always an engineer, Mike. If you have that in your roots, it's a part of you. And while I certainly don't do any difficult calculus or differential equations today, the heartbeat of knowing what it's like to walk that path is why engineers are who I coach. And for me, that path did include a rock bottom burnout experience. And it was learning through that and recovering and healing from that created the frameworks and foundations of the coaching programs we now offer at Oasis of Courage.
I have a client that I work with right now because I primarily work in R&D spaces, research and development spaces. And it is a group full of mechanical software and double E's. And it's always a blessing to think about integrity that way and to think about structural integrity that way. And Zach, I want to hear about your experience, though, from burnout to beyond. What took you there? What led you on that path?
Mike, when I got out of college from Purdue, I went into my career with the same ambition and hunger for success that so many leaders do. But I only had one strategy to make that happen. And it was the same strategy that had served me my entire academic career. And it was really simple, Mike. Work harder, get smarter. That's all I knew how to do. If you're struggling in class, if it looks like you're going to get a B or a C or not make it in a particular class, you just got to go hit the books. Find more time with the professor, go to the library, just keep studying, keep working until you figure it out. And I was very good at that. So I got into my career with this big dream, big goals. I wanted to be somebody. I wanted to prove to the world that I had what it takes, live up to the expectations of my mom and everybody who believed in me that I would be so successful. But I only had that one strategy. And unfortunately, Mike, many company cultures reinforce that long hours and working harder is the way to succeed. You see it around you all the time. The people who are working the nights and weekends are the ones getting the promotions. And people will give you a hard time about leaving at 5 o'clock if everybody else is still at their desk. And you feel that pressure to, I'm not going to be the first one out of here. I'd rather be the last one out. That's the way to the top, right? And that began a downward spiral for me to a point where I was neglecting areas of my life that were not working, like my marriage, my health, my faith, my family values. And I was putting that energy into career success. And it wasn't always 80-hour weeks. Sometimes I would work normal hours, but my mind was always focused there. I wasn't present to these other things, and I was numbing some of the pain of what was not working. And Mike, the moment it all came crashing down was when I came home from a work trip, and I had been so busy on the trip at the factory from early in the morning till late at night. I probably didn't even talk to my spouse the entire time I was gone. And I got home, I walked in the house expecting her to be there. And, things were a bit rocky between us, but I didn't think they were that bad. And I walk in and the house is empty. And there's a note on the kitchen table that says, "This isn't working. I'm done. I want a divorce. I don't think staying married is the right thing for us. Your head and heart are elsewhere. I'm out." And Mike, that was the absolute worst moment of my entire life. Just feeling everything come crashing down. Like none of those promotions, none of those long hours at work, none of the bonuses or paychecks mattered at all in that moment. I would have given anything to rewrite the script from the 3 years prior that led me to that moment. And unfortunately, I was unable to recover that. I saw a counselor and tried to fix the marriage, but it was too late. It was too far gone, and ended up divorced, depressed, extremely embarrassed. Like, how did my life end up here? I never, ever expected that. And it was a pretty dark place.
So this is the catalyst to take you beyond, and you've got to tell the recovery story. You've got the hope built in.
Yeah. Well, Mike, the first thing that happened that began the shift in my trajectory from rock bottom to ultimately extraordinary success and happiness that I enjoy today, the first catalyst moment was that I picked up my phone and I called my sister, Lindsay. And I can barely keep it together, Mike. I'm just bawling my eyes out on this phone call. But I told Lindsay the truth. It was the first time in my entire adult life that I actually told the truth. Hey, my marriage isn't working. I don't know how to fix it. I need help. I'm hurting. Nothing feels right. Like I'm out of my league. I don't know what to do. Just bawled this truth out about what was really going on. I stopped keeping secrets. I stopped pretending that I was so good on the outside when everything was broken on the inside. And the power of being fully known, the power of telling the truth, it creates that freedom. You know, there's a verse in the Bible that says the truth will set you free. And that's what I experienced in that moment. I finally had the freedom to act in a new way, the freedom to be a different person, an authentic person, to be myself and to tell the whole truth. And, you know, that continued then with asking for help, hiring a counselor, hiring a coach, reaching out to some people who I could trust. And those two things, telling the truth and asking for help, was the starting point. There were many actions that followed, and it took a lot of courage and a lot of missteps along the way to get my life back on track and to grow into the ultimate success that I enjoy now. But those were the two things that turned the ship around. And if anyone is struggling with that, I just always encourage them, look, if you're not telling the truth, if you're not fully known with someone, that's one of the first things to go create in your life. And quick sidebar, Mike, this is not blabbing your problems on Instagram and Facebook. I am not talking about social media, just talking about all of your problems. I'm talking about that one or two person group that really has earned the opportunity to know you fully and to be honest with them and be held accountable by them. And those are really powerful relationships.
Well, and everyone can find out more about Zach White at oasisofcourage.com. And we'll put some other links in the show notes that will take you to Zach. Zach, when I think about authenticity and what it means to be authentic, I also think about integrity. And integrity is about being the real deal, about showing up as whole cloth. For our engineers, for structural engineers, it might be that everything hangs together well, that it all sort of fits. You're getting the real deal. And, what's true about integrity, and perhaps this goes to your comment, Zach, about being known to at least one or two other individuals, is that when you're able to express that sense of integrity, you're able to create trust. And if a person thinks you have integrity, they'll be able to trust you. If they don't trust you, they won't think you have integrity. And if they don't think you have integrity, they won't trust you. So this really takes us to the topic then about, being this real deal. And I resonate, and I love the words they use around presence and hope, because I think that's part of it, along with discernment about knowing what's the work and what's not the work. And maybe that's around the social media. But to be authentic is to be congruent. That, it's great if I can get my words and actions to align, and even better if I can get sort of my headset, my mind frame in alignment with my words and actions, because a lot of people can fake it on some things. So for you, how does that all stack up? That's my view of those topics. I wonder what you might think about what it means to be authentic and what it means to be, where integrity might sit at an intersection with authenticity.
Mike, I love that you added the mindset piece to integrity. And I'll start there, because most of the time when I heard integrity talked about growing up, it was words and deeds. Did you do what you said you would do? And that was living with integrity. And it is. But more than that, for me, the true experience of integrity is end to end. And that means, are you saying what you believe? Are you telling the truth? is your mindset and what you actually believe aligned with the words that you're saying? And the big challenge that I see with authenticity and integrity in this intersection is that people get addicted to this definition that it's words and deeds only, but they're saying a lot of things that they wish they had said. They're committing to a lot of things they wish they had not committed to. They're giving their time and energy to other people's priorities and not their own. And then it builds bitterness and resentment and challenge in their life, or they always feel like a victim, or they just have no sense of agency or control. And all that comes back to this halfway true definition of integrity. They're only saying, well, I said this, so I must do it. And as long as I keep doing that, I have integrity. But if you're not telling the truth and saying what you believe and aligning that first piece, you're going to create a lot of challenge. And around the word authenticity, Mike, I did a little digging because I haven't gone back to the books, so to speak, on this word in a long time. It was really fun to remind myself of what I believe around this in preparation for our chat today. And I was reminded of the origins of the word. If you go back and do your Latin and Greek derivatives and look in, there were 3 different ideas that surfaced, and I really love this. One being genuine, the second being original, and the third authoritative. And I think it's that third one that is what I really bring to my clients that's so important around what an authentic life or an authentic leader brings. Because a lot of times it's just, this you do you kind of mentality around authenticity. Are you honoring yourself in the way, things you value and how you show up in the world? You hear these sort of coachy phrases around it, and they're good, well-intended. But that third piece, authenticity brings authority. And that's where your comment around trust and its relationship to this, I think dovetails in. Because when you have an authentic presence, when you live with integrity every day, end to end, from mindset through action, it creates authority as a leader. People want to follow you. People want to give you their heart, their time, their energy, and they will listen to you. They will do the things that you ask of them because you have this. And so authenticity is not just about you. It really is in service of the other person, because it allows you to guide and lead and create something where they can be at their best as well. People love to follow an authentic, full of integrity and humility leader. And so, I think it was perfect what you said, Mike. I loved it.
Certainly, one of the traits of leaders is those who act out of self-service rather than self-interest. It creates a different sort of framework. I am fortunate, and as you mentioned earlier, we are in the midst of just huge layoffs. It seems no sector of technology has escaped it. And I have the good fortune of coaching a number of technology executives, and many of them arise from these Horatio Alger stories, born dirt poor, and really by many graceful forces, able to acquire education and begin to climb a vertical corporate success ladder to become a vice president, to move on to SVP, and to have aspirations beyond those roles. And as I think about, these folks, these Horatio Alger stories, who also want to give back in a different capacity later in life, what do you think about those? You must encounter these kind of folks as well. And I don't want to leave it as broad as what do you think about that, Zach White? But to bring a little more focus in terms of what is the ascendancy that we are striving for in our quest for living a genuine, original, authoritative lifestyle.
One of my clients, an amazing guy named Alex, was born in Russia and wrestled. And he was on an Olympic wrestling track, which if you know anything about training for the Olympics in many countries, but especially Russia and China and these places. That's a full-time from childhood experience. But he got injured and wasn't able to continue on his training track. And he ended up coming to the United States with no money, no English competency as a language, and no real clue what he would do with his life now that wrestling as a dream had died. And Alex worked his way into acceptance in engineering school at the University of Michigan, which is no small task for anyone, especially someone who does not speak English. Okay. Got his engineering degree, went on to incredible success, and now is in senior management at a major automotive OEM and has aspirations to move into executive level leadership. I look at a story like that, which there are so many, Mike, to your point, of people just like Alex who have overcome extraordinary adversity, extraordinary challenge to ascend, to your point, up this career ladder. And when we do our coaching together with our clients, and Alex and I working through, one of the pieces is a really deep dive on core values, far beyond what any of my clients have ever done before. Not just a quick surface level exercise. I mean, we really dig in to the root of what matters for these individuals. And what we consistently see is that we are built into a default pattern in life of using these external markers of success and achievement to satisfy this internal desire for the emotion of being someone who has achieved. I want to feel achievement in my life. I want to experience this quality, which is physiological, right? Emotion is energy in motion. It's a cocktail of neurotransmitters in my body. It's something I literally feel. And I want to feel that more often. And we get addicted to these patterns and paradigms where if I can just get that next promotion, if I can just, you fill in the blank, when this, then I'll experience whatever that is. We create that model and that addiction in our careers. And one of the most fun and powerful transformations we see with leaders like Alex is when they realize my significance, my achievement doesn't have to be married to the ascending career ladder. In fact, I have a whole nother dimension of agency and control over the rules of that game. I can change the rules. It doesn't have to be when I get a promotion, then I've achieved. It could be when I help a junior engineer overcome one of their challenges, then I've achieved. It could be when I reflect on the successes of my past, then I can know that I've achieved. It can be lots of other things. And so to answer your question, Mike, why do we pursue it, or what creates that pull? There's a lot of things that are culturally conditioned through the education systems, through what we see, through what movies glorify, through what all of the things that money and the world around us says is what we're supposed to want, that during our formative years sets up that when-then condition. And a lot of us then experience the pain of those rules of the game not working for us. And we end up in these places where we ask new questions and we open this up. And it's really powerful to work with somebody to help you understand how the mindset, back to your original point about mindset being so important, is setting us up for some things that create a lot of stress and a lot of heartburn around something that may not actually be authentic for you. You want to feel achievement, but you don't necessarily want that life. Well, let's redefine the rules.
Yeah, and do I have it right, Zach White, that you discuss these issues on the Happy Engineer podcast?
Absolutely. This is, to me, the happy engineer. Well, Mike, one of the saddest things in the world to me is there's so many unhappy engineers. People who have passion for technology and engineering, but don't love their career and their life. And these are exactly the kinds of reasons why. So yes, these types of topics and many others on how to build your career, but also balance your life in a way that you can love. That's exactly what we cover with our guests and in my episodes of the Happy Engineer podcast.
And everyone can see this and read it in the show notes, but on Facebook and Instagram, you can find Zach White at the Happy Engineer Podcast. And that will be a place to gain more insight into Oasis of Courage and what Zach is doing in that regard. Zach, what I wonder about is the what it means for you to bring hope and presence to situations. You could say some more about that?
Mike, I love the combination of those two in the question. I get asked a lot about presence. Being present is a really popular topic in the world and in coaching. And I've had great conversation around hope. But it's interesting that you bring them together. And I'm just going to kind of mash up some wisdom around this right here with you, if that's all right, because I think they are related. And I'll just describe why I think so. So presence to me is really important because where your focus goes, energy flows. And if your focus is on a different time than now, if your focus is on the past or if your focus is on the future, it's not that that's inherently a bad thing, but guess what, Mike? I don't have any power to change the past or the future. The only power I have is to take action in the present. All of my power exists in this moment. There is no option for me to change 5 years from now today. I can change right now in a way that may affect 5 years from now, but I can't directly change 5 years from now. So the more focus I pull into the present, so when we talk about presence, the more power I create in the present, because where the focus goes, the energy flows, and energy over time is power, as the engineers know. And that gives me this ability to change my life, to transform, to grow, to get results. Well, what is hope?
It's often a strategy I employ with my coaching clients in that I usually don't know what happened in 5 minutes before they showed up on Zoom or we met in a conference room. And I certainly don't know what will happen to them 10 minutes later. I mean, with rare exception, after we finish. 100%. But it is a way for me to be centered and focused and present and to be most available at that time.
Yeah. Yeah. So presence creates power. And then take what is hope? This idea of having a vision of the future and believing that it's possible, right? A sense of motivation, energy, a dream of the future that's something better than today, going in a direction that is aligned with what you want. And having hope in that gets us out of bed in the morning. It's something that's part of our uniquely human divine nature. And so how do we take what we hope for and make it real? Well, we need to apply our power in the present in the direction of what we hope for. And so presence and hope, I think, are super related because the more present we become, the more we move towards what we hope for. And the more you're making progress towards those hopes and dreams, the more excited you get about it and the more likely you are to want to create a habit around presence. And so, I think those are really linked ideas. And how to do that, is a practice. It's a discipline. And we could talk about those tools and tips and tricks, but the bottom line is it's not something that you're born with, and it's not something you simply decide to do and are good at it. It is a practice.
Zach, people refer to you as the world's best lifestyle engineer. Can you break that down?
Totally. So, Mike, I got my mechanical engineering degrees from Purdue and U of M, but I became a lifestyle engineer through the school of hard knocks and setbacks and failures along the way. And what this means is that we want to take all of our strengths. For me, that's engineering, it's designing, it's understanding systems and tools, and build into your life the whole picture of what you want. And we become so isolated around career, and everybody wants promotions and everybody wants to succeed in a certain area of your vocation. But to me, being a successful engineer, but hating my life is not success, right? Having a big paycheck and being unfulfilled is not success. And so lifestyle engineering is about looking at the whole picture and optimizing around what it is that you really want in your vision. What do you want? And why do you want it? and let's go design that life. Not live a default life, but live a designed life. And that's something that I'm so passionate about. It's what's created the success that I enjoy today and the happiness I enjoy today. It's what we share with our clients. So we call our methodology lifestyle engineering because it's not about the technical acumen in engineering skills that creates that life. It's about taking all these things and applying them into the whole context. You're a whole person, so let's engineer the whole life.
Well, and it's essential. And some might think about these ideas as being in some polar juxtaposition, but they're really not. The ideas of engineering and creativity, not creativity so much. I want to use the word vision, vision and engineering, but all change, all great change, all sustainable change includes vision plus dissatisfaction plus a set of first steps. I mean, I'm not the first to articulate that equation, but it's certainly often an idea that I think does exist in some polarization for people around engineering and vision.
Yes. You've got your structure people, which engineers typically land in that camp: systems, structures, analytical approaches. And your creative people, your innovators, your artists, the people who want to approach life in a more whimsical and spontaneous way. And to your point, Mike, everybody initially, I do think, sees those in opposing forces in life, but they're absolutely complementary. Systems are the foundation of creativity, and creativity opens the door to designing beautiful systems. And they're absolutely a both and equation. And the sooner we wrap our head around that, the sooner we can leverage both sides. And it's not about one being true and one being false. It's simply about which one are we focused on right now. Is it a time to approach it with y equals f of x systematic thinking? Or is it a time to focus on opening the door to new possibility and connecting dots that have never been connected? They're both true. Which one do we need in this moment? That's the wisdom of leadership and experience.
And Zach White, how do folks get in touch with you and with Oasis of Courage?
Mike, if someone really wants to just jump right in, you need support, you want to talk to me directly, at least at the time we're recording this, I still take all of those calls for anyone who's interested. So grab your phone and just text the word lifestyle to 55444. It's one word, lifestyle, to that short code 55444. We'll send you a link to grab time for a quick chat, find out where you're at, what you need support with if you're in engineering and technology. And then my team will put you on my calendar for a 75-minute coaching session, totally free, just as a gift. And thank you for listening to this amazing podcast. And Mike, just want to give that to your listeners. If you're not ready for that, or maybe you're not in engineering, but you just want to learn more about lifestyle engineering for yourself to apply it, just jump over to the podcast. I know Mike mentioned the links will be in the show notes, but the Happy Engineer podcast and all the ways to find me and connect with me are also linked up there.
That's great. I really appreciate the accessibility and the availability to hallmarks always in leadership. And Zach, if we, just as we're wrapping up now and thinking about what's next, and thank you for providing ways for folks to be in touch with you. What one short piece of advice or guidance or insight would you offer to those in the audience who are helping engineers to succeed in their leadership roles? What would that be? And then we'll wrap up. We'll begin to wrap up.
Mike, I would say in the spirit of authentic change, if you are an engineering leader or you're helping engineering leaders in this space, here's the thing every engineer needs to know. You will not step forward in authenticity or in creating positive change in your organization or in your personal life by simply staying comfortable, staying safely in your comfort zone. It's going to demand getting out of that comfort zone, facing fears, facing discomfort, facing new challenges, and being willing to fail. And so the one piece of advice I would give everyone, and I share with my clients on day one of us working together, is that growth requires getting out of the comfort zone. So let's crush comfort and create courage instead, because that's what it takes to become the kind of leader that one day you'll look back and say, I'm being fully authentic, in full integrity, and I had the courage to lead at my highest capability.
That's wonderful, Zach. And I encourage everyone to visit Zach and learn more about Zach White at oasisofcourage.com, where you can find out, or be sure to tune into his podcast, available wherever you listen, the Happy Engineer podcast. And you'll find so much. It's just been a delight to be in conversation with you today, Zach White. And thank you again so much.
Absolutely. Mike, thank you. Just want to acknowledge you and your show, the tremendous work and value. I loved listening to some of these episodes, and it's awesome work. You're making a huge difference in the lives of these leaders who listen. So appreciate the invitation. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you so much, Zach White. And until the next episode of Authentic Change with Mike Horn, stay well.
Thank you for listening to the Authentic Change podcast. I'm delighted that you've tuned in to listen. Please visit the show notes for links to topics discussed in today's podcast. To download a free ebook on authentic change and leadership and to subscribe to my newsletter, please visit mike-horn.com. Once again, mike-horne.com, mike-horn.com. Once again, thank you for listening to the Authentic Change podcast.